Hi everyone. I'm here today with a short review on Class Act, which is Jerry Craft's sequel to his 2020 Newbery Award winning novel New Kid. I really enjoyed New Kid, which is a middle grade graphic novel about a black kid, Jordan, who's attending a new school across town. He lives in the Bronx, and he struggles to fit in with the wealthy and mostly white student body there. And if you haven't read that one, I highly recommend it, and I recommend you check it out before picking up Class Act, the sequel. In fact, I did my own review of the book, which I'll link below, and I said that much that I really enjoyed it, and thus I had high hopes for Class Act when I saw that it came out just a couple months ago. And while Class Act doesn't disappoint, it also didn't blow me away in any new sort of way. New Kid is a tough act to follow, and Jerry Craft does a pretty good job of bringing back the old favorite characters, including giving a heightened focus to Jordan's darker-skinned classmate, Drew. The fact that Drew is a darker-skinned African-American than Jordan is touched on a few times in the novel. Unfortunately, one drawback of this heightened focus on Drew was that Class Act felt less like it had a main character as opposed to New Kid, in which Jordan is the clear protagonist despite Drew playing a key role in the story and having his own challenges. Furthermore, Class Act lacks a coherent story in the way that we saw one in New Kid. Admittedly, New Kid didn't have one huge conflict pervading the entire novel, but it did have at least a clear main conflict, which was Jordan's struggle to fit in at his new school. In contrast, I couldn't really name the main conflict in Class Act. Jordan and Drew are now 8th graders going through some new difficulties and situations at school, and while these situations are interesting, relatable, and at times pretty hilarious, the book feels a lot more episodic than its precursor. It touches on many important issues of class and race that are especially relevant for middle school age kids, but they don't land quite as hard simply because they're not as unified in a way that stretches across many chapters. That said, as a set of episodic stories, it's perfectly entertaining, and the comic book format fits this format nicely, with plenty of new scenarios coming up. We see the school's well-intentioned but bumbling attempts to solve its diversity problem. That is, an awareness that it lacks diversity and isn't fully welcoming, for example, to the black students who are visiting from the sister school across town. We see Drew's classmates revel in their perceived enlightenment about how hard his life must be after watching a harrowing film about life in the mean streets of South Uptown, which is a returning joke from New Kid that I enjoyed. And we see a few of Jordan's good-hearted but still learning classmates reckoning with their realizations that the microaggressions they're committing might be doing some harm. There are plenty of other fun scenes too, including one extended sequence at the end of the book that, although mostly a standalone episode aside from the rest of the book, will still be a lot of fun for many readers, and it was for me. The story is fun and on point, without ever becoming overly serious, and even for white readers like myself who haven't directly experienced most of the situations described in the novel, it'll be relatable and hopefully will teach us a little bit about how others might be affected by our actions that we don't think twice about. It's a fun book and an easy read, so while it's not quite on the level of New Kid, I'd still recommend giving it a shot if you've already read New Kid. It's a respectable follow-up, brings back much of the fun of the original, and I'll definitely read any subsequent installments in the series, which I'm guessing we can probably expect. And that's a wrap for this short review of Class Act. Bye, and happy reading.